Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Friday TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Chris Garvey. Hey Chris, welcome back.
How's it, Vasco? Yeah, excited for today's topic.
Absolutely. Product owners are, of course, key enablers, even catalysts for the success of the teams we work with. And there's some great product owners out there. We'll talk about an example in a minute, but there are also some product owner anti-patterns we must be aware of and ready to react to adapt to. So, Chris, first, let's dive into that. Share with us what might have been potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
Yeah, interestingly, I've had a few. I can think of two explicitly where it's been the opposite of the usual anti-pattern we see with product owners, which is that they aren't very present. They're not available to the team. And I've had the instance where the opposite is true quite a few times, where product owners are too involved. They either have the two examples I can think of. The one had a project manager background, so wanted to be that coordinator, go between, kind of making sure everything gets done, coordinating the flow of things between people and trying to be the glue and really taking that space. But also, yeah, I remember there in particular that, I mean, you're just disabling again the ability for the team to self-organize. And in a way, I mean, that team enjoyed it. I mean, it's great. They can sit back and have this person who's catching all the balls and going in between. And it's nice to not have to adult sometimes and let someone else run around and spoon feed to a degree. But also with her, and I feel like I could recognize it because it's so much in me as well, where her self-worth was so tied up in being busy and in not being associated with failure. So they're not being able to let a ball drop. Like if it was maybe going to drop or someone wasn't going to do it, then she would make sure and follow up and double check and all of this, which effectively stunts. It's like a helicopter parent, right? It just stunts the child's ability to have some freedom to actually own more of the space, put some feet wrong. But I just also that such painful thing of having your self-worth tied to your doing so much that you literally can't let that ball drop, and just disabling the glue of the team. That eventually they needed to be a team, but they were a working group because she was the glue and the go-between between all of them. And it's also tricky to.
So they had like a little bit the savior syndrome, right?
Absolutely.
Like wanted to save everybody and make sure that nobody suffered at any point.
Absolutely. And she also had a testing background, so then she wanted to jump in with testing all the time and made the roles a bit not clear and a bit all over the show. Exactly. And it was so interesting that we want autonomy, but we also like when people take some of the admin off of us. But you stunt a team's ability to.
So how do you work with this type of POs? Like how do you help them realize what they are doing and the impact on the team?
Yeah, that instance, I really struggled. To be honest, I went into fix mode, and I was like, no, well, I made her wrong and was like, clearly, no, you're the anti-pattern, and started setting up. I mean, it's a standard Scrum Master thing when you see yourself as the protector of the team and you're trying to grow the team on this thing, but then you create that triangle. It's I forget the name of it, but where it needs three parties, and I'm trying to protect the team from the Scrum Master, and I'm trying to coach her, but I've got an agenda. I'm trying to get her to see, listen, you're disabling the team, stop it. But she's like, what do you mean that I need to make sure we deliver? And like, it just it was one of the more antagonizing relationships I've had with a PO, because I had an agenda that she was wrong. She couldn't see that she was wrong. The team was happy for her to carry on. I was more attached with solving my problem, which is that they need to be agile, rather than solving their problems, which is let's emerge what your problems are and then take it from there. So yeah, it's whenever we come with that agenda, it just gets messy, and it's
and we also become helicopter parents then.
Exactly.
We mimic the anti-pattern of the PO.
And so it's tricky.
It is tricky, of course, as you said. It is also very difficult to solve this. Let's call them anti-patterns, because we never solve anyone. We solve problems if we're lucky. But there are also some amazing examples of what great product owners look like out there. And we wanted to share one with us. What was potentially the best product owner you've ever worked with, Chris? How did they work?
Yeah, there was one product owner a few years ago. What I truly enjoyed about her is she'd been a product owner for a good few years, and she got it, and she'd also been a Scrum Master. So she could, we could complement each other in such good ways and back each other up, but also know exactly when to step back. And I really loved how she did that dance of she knew what her role was. So she owned the why. Why are we building this product? What's the problem we're trying to solve? Here's a bit of the what in terms of stories, requirements, whatever, but totally conversational, totally making space for the team to be a part of defining the what in terms of the requirements and stories, but then completely giving it over to them to own the how and to change it mid-sprint, like how we building this, but staying true to objectives. So really giving that space, but also then giving me space, because very often you can sometimes get in each other's hair, a PO and a Scrum Master, and very often, it was just really empowering to be able to dance with someone who knew it and who I could coach, and she could coach me. Like she could totally call me out, and we built such a great relationship where even in front of the team, we'd go, Chris, she'd call me out and say, Chris, aren't you a little bit going into the house space or like whatever. And in a playful, great way that was so great. But I truly enjoyed how she, again, and it's a bit of a theme for me because I do it, is I place my value in my role and in doing and being busy. And there's such an art to know when to just step back and give space, even in a moment where the ball's about to drop, but to let it drop. And she had a beautiful way of being present, but not over intruding herself.
Absolutely. And when that is working, it's beautiful. And we can feel that, okay, there is kind of a positive dynamic here that we can both grow from and help the team excel and perform. That's a great story, Chris. We're getting close to the end though, but before you go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Sure. I think LinkedIn is the best place. Don't think I'm on Twitter or X. More on Instagram and LinkedIn are the main places. I haven't been on the conference talks circuit in the last while, but hopefully, I'll apply for some for next year. But LinkedIn's the best place.
Absolutely. We'll put the link to Chris's LinkedIn page so that you can all go and why not start up a conversation with him about some of the topics that came up during this week. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you for creating such a great space. Thanks, Vasco.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast host, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. So join us at scrummasterpodcast.com and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more full week of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.